Hi, I'm Jacie Bandur on the Learning and Development team, and I'm joined by Jane Gianoutsos, Manager, Support Engineering APAC here at GitLab. And today we're going to be talking about career development as a manager and how you have those conversations with your team members. So Jane, could you start off by telling us how you approach career development conversations with your team members?
Yeah, sure thing. I try to make this a really natural part of our one-to-ones right from the start of my relationship with my team members. So when they start, I've got a template one-to-one document that I start them off with, and that includes a list of things that the onboarding issue asks managers to cover, and some pointers that I like to give people when they first start so that I remember to give people all those pointers. But in there, I also include a section that's titled Within the First 3 Months. And this is all about career development. So I include some links in there to some useful templates that we have in support around both thinking about career development, but also for keeping track of your work. So things where you've got thanks in the thanks channel, or you've done a really great job and got some amazing feedback from the customer, or some debugging that you've worked on. And it makes it much easier if people do decide to do a path to promotion later. Filling in their promo docs is so much easier when they've been recording it as they go right from the start. So when we talk through this during that first 3 months, the conversation, it's really different for every person. For some people, they come in with a really clear view of where they're heading. They've probably already read the career path sections on the handbook, and they've even asked questions about the career path in the interview. For some others, being at GitLab may be the very first time that they've ever really deeply considered their personal and career development. And this will be very much a discovery journey for both them and me. So this is to explore and understand what they're passionate about, what inspires them, and also what's demotivating for them. Because that's, for some people, that's never been something they've had the space or the invitation to even think about or explore. And as people progress in that journey, I find, yes, the conversation changes, but what doesn't change is that it's always really different for every single person. So yeah.
Yeah, that's great. So how often are you having career development conversations with your team members?
I do try to make sure that we at least touch base on it at least quarterly. In reality, though, it's much more often than that. But not necessarily like a full conversation about, right, what's your career plan? Where are you at? What's going on? But it's more like just checking in on how people are doing on the practical things, like how are you getting on scheduling time for training? How are you doing finding other people to learn with? Or even just me taking a little moment to go, oh, that's a ticket that they're learning about. Let me share that with them and go, hey, you might be interested in following this, or an article that I read that I go, oh, I know this is something this person's really interested in, and sharing that with them. And I'll share that async, and then sometimes we'll have a chat about it during the one-to-one. For some team members, they can face quite a barrier to their career development and their own self-doubt. So, and I can fully relate to that. That's something that I've wrestled with my entire life. I wouldn't even just say my career. But with those people, we definitely talk about development as a regular topic, but with me more in the role of coach and cheerleader. So pointing out evidence of their strengths and skills, hey, did you see how well you did that, and all the feedback you got on that, connecting their self-reported successes, which they usually put in their one-to-ones, with earlier statements that they've made about not being good enough or not knowing something, and just inviting them to pause and reflect on that and celebrate their success and learnings, and to go, okay, I can do that. And that's all part of development for them too, but also passing on positive feedback. And I find that approach typically leads to those people getting more inspired to really consider their own development. And then we can start talking about how to turn that into more practical steps as well. Yeah.
I love that. I always say, I don't need a parade, but I need to know what I'm doing well. Like, I don't need I don't need you to announce it to the whole world, but at least tell me what I'm doing right. So that's awesome.
We're wired that way, right? As humans,
yeah.
we're just, there's so much we can do with self-validation, but it's really different when you hear it from someone else. It's good. Yeah,
definitely. So I know myself being an individual contributor, it can be difficult sometimes to have career conversations with your manager, because they are kind of a vulnerable conversation. So what steps do you take to get team members comfortable talking about career development?
Yeah, to be honest, because this is something we start right at the beginning of their journey in GitLab, that helps. It's a natural part of what we talk about. It's not a big scary, oh no, she's put career development into the one-to-one document. It's like, oh yeah, we're checking in on this. Oh, that's going to be uncomfortable, but it'll be fun. But the other aspect of it is I keep a fairly broad understanding of what career development can look like. So if someone says to me they're not really concerned about career development, I get really curious about that, and I start asking questions because I relate to that. Someone asked me when I first started at GitLab, so what's your career plan? I'm like, oh, I don't have one, I'm not ambitious. Turns out that's not true. That was just something, it was a story I was telling myself. And when I looked at the facts of my history, I was like, oh, that's not true at all. I just had a very narrow definition of what career development looked like. So I start asking questions about, so what does career development mean to you? And then consider that it's not necessarily about mapping out a promotion path, but can also be deepening a technical skill, broadening your range of skills, but equally importantly, that personal development is not only a valid part, but it's also a really, really important part of career development.
Yeah, I agree. That's awesome. So, what do you do? You kind of mentioned this a little bit, but what do you do if a team member hasn't talked to you about career development, or they haven't brought it up in a conversation? What steps do you take?
Yeah, the way we operate together is, if we haven't been talking about it, which is pretty rare to be honest, but I'll just pop it into the one-to-one and go, hey, let's check in, let's chat about this. And if I know it's someone who is going to kind of balk as soon as they see career development and go, oh no, I'll just find a different way to phrase it and just go,
Yeah.
How's your learning and growth going? Or and just approach it in a way, because I know for me, I hate going into an agenda document that someone's put this mysterious little phrase in that I'm like,
yes.
oh no. Excuse me, it stresses me out. So I'm really conscious of that if I know it's, if someone's uncomfortable with career, then career development conversations, I'll keep that soft.
Yeah, definitely. I can relate to that as well. So as a manager, do you have advice for other managers who want to talk to their team members more about career development and kind of make it a more regular conversation?
I think the main thing I would say is be really open to career development looking really, really different for every person. And the possibility that it could be wildly different to your own experience and the things that you value. You might be someone who's quite set on, right, this is my career path. I know where I want to be in 2 years, 5 years, 10 years. That's amazing. That's not going to be the case for some people. And I know that can be a place as a manager that can be really uncomfortable of going, okay, how do I meet them where they're at? And for me, it's the opposite. The people who are really, really planned and focused, I'm like, okay, how can I best support them in this? Because that's never been my experience of being really, really focused on a definite career plan. So I love that it stretches me. So I think being open to being stretched as a manager as well. And I guess the last thing I'd say is supporting people in discovering their strengths and passions is such a privilege, and journeying with them in that discovery, or supporting those who have a clear plan and determination to execute on that plan. Both of those things, they're really, really rewarding to be a part of. So yeah, it's embrace that as an opportunity. It's amazing. Yeah.
Awesome. That was really great advice. I loved it. Well, those are the questions that I had for you today. So I just want to really thank you for taking the time to talk with me. I think this information is going to be really helpful for GitLab leaders really looking to help their team members grow their careers.
Cool. Thanks, Jacie.